Before we begin, please imagine the bell notification is on and you're subscribed to Huna Stories. They seated me at the kids' table. Not metaphorically, the actual folding table shoved against the wall in the hotel's overflow room, surrounded by high chairs, spilled juice boxes, and a balloon bouquet slowly deflating like a sigh. My name card read Aunt Riley in glitter pen, as if that made it cute instead of cruel. Inside the main ballroom, crystal flutes clinked, string lights twinkled like captured stars, and my brother Ethan, golden, effortless Ethan, was about to marry the woman he'd called the one since sophomore year of college. I had flown in from Seattle, changed planes in Chicago during a snow delay, and arrived with my dress still creased from the suitcase because Mom had texted 3 days earlier. "Please don't make this about you, Riley. Ethan's worked so hard for this day." Worked so hard, as if I hadn't been the one wiring him money for law school when Dad's business tanked, or covering the down payment on his first condo when he forgot to save. But effort, in our family, only counted when it wore Ethan's face. Growing up, Ethan was the sun. Report cards with perfect scores, lacrosse trophies, the boy who smiled, and the room smiled back. I was the shadow. Good grades, yes, but quiet ones. Reliable, but forgettable. Mom would say, "Riley's so independent, she doesn't need the spotlight." Dad would nod and add, "She's got her head on straight." Translation, "She doesn't ask for anything, so we don't have to give it." The last family gathering before this wedding was Christmas 2 years ago. Ethan announced his engagement over prime rib. Mom cried happy tears and hugged him for 5 full minutes. When I mentioned I'd just closed on my own house, small, fixer-upper, all mine, no one looked up from their plates. Later, in the kitchen, Mom patted my arm. "You're so self-sufficient, honey. We never worry about you." I smiled the way I'd learned to, thin, polite, gone in a second. Inside, something cracked like thin ice. At the rehearsal dinner the night before, the coordinator scanned her tablet and winced. "You're in the annex room. Family request. More space for the little ones." I glanced at the ballroom doors. Through the glass, I could see Ethan laughing with his groomsmen, Mom adjusting his tie like he was still 10. No one glanced my way. I thanked her, walked to the annex, and sat. Plastic tablecloth, folding chairs that wobbled. A toddler smeared frosting on my sleeve and giggled. I wiped it off without comment. Then Ethan appeared in the doorway, tuxedo perfect, boutonniere white rose. He leaned in, voice low and amused. "Guess they found the right spot for you after all." I met his eyes. What does that mean? He shrugged, that easy shrug that used to charm teachers and girls and parents. "Come on, Rye, you never really fit the family photos anyway. Don't ruin the vibe today." The words landed soft, surgical. I felt the old burn rise, but this time it didn't blind me. It clarified. "I brought your gift," I said calmly. "It's on the table with the others." He smirked. "Thanks. Try to smile for the pictures later." I didn't answer. He left. The door clicked shut. 4 months earlier, I'd been in a coffee shop in Seattle when one of Ethan's old paralegals recognized me. Over lattes, she pulled out her phone. Screenshots. Texts from Ethan to his fiance's best friend. Laughing emojis about how he'd played the long game with the prenup loopholes, how Mom and Dad were finally going to see him set for life, how he'd joked about keeping Riley in the annex where she belongs, out of sight, out of the will. The messages were dated right after I'd sent him the last check. I hadn't planned to act on them, not really, but standing in that annex, listening to the band start the first slow dance through the wall, I walked back to the main room, slipped the silver envelope on the gift table, right under the towering arrangement of white orchids. Inside, a USB drive labeled "For Ethan and Sophia, congratulations," loaded with every screenshot, timestamped and highlighted. A single printed note on top. "Truth looks better in the light. Enjoy the honeymoon." I left through the side exit. The night air smelled like cut grass and distant lake water. Behind me, the music swelled, glasses raised for toasts. I drove to the hotel airport, booked the first flight out at dawn. By the time my phone started lighting up, missed calls from mom, voicemails from dad sounding confused, a single furious text from Ethan, "What the hell did you do?" I was already airborne. Inside the ballroom, apparently, the toasts had ended. Someone plugged in the USB as a surprise slideshow. The screen flickered. Not photos. Messages. Laughter died. Sophia's face went blank, then red. Ethan's mother-in-law stood up slowly. The band stopped mid-note. Ethan tried to explain. It's out of context, but the dates lined up. The prenup revisions he'd pushed for, the casual cruelty. No one shouted, no dramatic slap, just silence spreading like spilled wine, staining everything. Sophia didn't throw her ring. She simply removed it, placed it on the table, and walked out. The reception ended early. Guests left in quiet clusters. Mom called me sobbing. Dad texted once, "We need to talk." I didn't reply. By morning, I was back in Seattle. Rain tapped the windows like fingers, asking to be let in. I made coffee, sat on my couch, the one I'd bought with my own money, and listened to the quiet. Not the old quiet of being erased. This was different, chosen. At my brother's wedding, they seated me in the overflow room. This morning, I'm seated at my own table, sunlight cutting across the floor. Same quiet, different power. Sometimes the sharpest cut isn't a scream, it's the click of a door closing behind you and the sound of someone else finally hearing the echo. Tell me, have you ever had to leave the party to finally hear your own voice?